Is there any danger to Christians embracing American nationalism? Well, as with a lot of issues, it depends on precisely what you mean by that. But let me explain at least what I take American nationalism to be. Nationalism, in particular, is kind of a love for and a faithfulness to and a pride to one's own nation. Just like you might have pride in your family or pride in your clan, or you feel identification with family in that way, or the group. This is what nationalism turns out to be, and it seems to be a very powerful force because it seems to be an extension of one's attachment to family, because the nation is the larger family, and it generally is a large family that shares a common sense of values and a heritage and a history, and we've gone through this together. So there's a bond there, and it's very understandable. Is this bond a good thing, and is it ever dangerous? Well, I think it's a good thing in one sense, because there is a sense in which those that you're closest to you want to love and protect. And so whether you're talking about the family or the clan or your larger group of friends or your nation, I think there is a love and attachment to one's group, small or large, that can stimulate virtuous behavior, if that behavior is behavior like loving and protecting and guarding and that kind of thing. There's another element too, though, and that is you may love your group in addition to those familial affections that you have, because there is something the larger group or smaller group, whatever it happens to be, stands for that you're particularly proud of. You might think about your own family. You might say, well, we had come from a long line of policemen in our family, or military people, and we're very proud of that. Well, that's something, it seems to me, that's worth being proud of. If your group, your family, has made some significant contribution to their culture, or maybe they're musicians, or maybe they're in the entertainment business, or thinking of that business in the best sense. Well, I can see how you could feel proud of your group because of the good that it's done. And so there is this, I think, sense that many people have that's called American exceptionalism, that America is exceptional not just for Americans, but in a way that other countries are not exceptional. Every country feels good about, for the most part, I think, has a sense of nationalism and feels good about its own country, but not every country can say, here are the noble and virtuous things that we have done as a people over the history of our country that we can really feel proud of and that make us rise above the pack, even in light of our liabilities. I think that this is true of America. It's my personal conviction. Not everybody shares this. But I am proud of my country because it's my family, my extended family, if you will. And I love my country, but I also love my country for another reason, and that is because of the virtuous things that it's done in its history. And I think that its virtues are legion. And this is why people are beating their path to our door. So I think those are all legitimate reasons for a Christian to embrace American nationalism. No, there's a dark side. And the dark side isn't just with American nationalism, but it's also for families and the clan, the smaller group. Whatever group we identify our kinship with at whatever level, sometimes what the group does is not noble, but ignoble. There are not virtues, but vices. And if our view is my kinship group, my family, my community, my country, right or wrong, that I'm going to stick with them, then what we're saying as followers of Christ is that we have a higher commitment or fidelity than to Him. We have our first fidelity. We are first and foremost Koukls or Angelinos or Californians or Americans. Now I think the tail's wagging the dog. I am first and foremost a Christian. My loyalties are with Christ first, and then they are with family. You know, Jesus himself said, look at, when you follow me, you're going to make enemies of your own family. And if your family, then maybe your country or your clan. Look what happened to Paul with the Jews, his countrymen. So we see many examples in the New Testament where when push comes to shove, the right decision for the follower of Christ is to follow Christ and not his clan or his country. And sometimes we have to look at our family or our clan or our country and say, you know what, I love you, but what we're doing here is wrong. And I am going to move with Christ. So we do not stick with our national identity, our birth identity, if you will. In fact, Jesus came to create tension in those identities. Read Matthew 10. And when there's tension in those identities and push comes to shove, we are to choose him. We are to put our hand to the plow and not look back. We are to put our cross on our back and keep moving forward. And lots of ways that Jesus expressed this. So I am a proud Koukl. I guess I can't say I'm a proud Angelino or Californian, but I am a proud American. But that doesn't mean that's my first loyalty. I am proud of our family. I am proud of what America has done historically. And I think on balance, it's been more virtue than vice. And therefore, I think America is exceptional. But there are times when I have to say what we are doing now and what we represent now are wrong. It is not in the best spirit of the wonderful virtues this country was founded on, which I take to be primarily Christian virtues, biblical virtues. And so I have to say no. And in principle, that could even happen in my own family. Because our first fidelity is with Christ. And he'll never take you wrong.